Chapter 61 Ice Spirit Cold Spring, Obtained. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Yan waved his arm, and 3 puppet iron men suddenly appeared on the ground. The 3 little iron men seemed to be birds that escaped from the cage, and each moved their bodies. That's it. Otto's eyes widened a bit. He thought that Xiao Yan's arrogant tone meant that he got some great treasure from his teacher. 3 iron lumps, what do they count? Gut let out a surprised sound. It was such a delicate puppet, but it was just a little too small. If it were bigger, looking at Gut's excited expression, Xiao Yan said, if we have enough materials to create a puppet that is comparable to the powerful fighting spirit, there is a lot of potential. This is much better than those inferior mechanisms. Do you have a method for making puppets? Gut licked his mouth as his cloudy old eyes were locked on the 3 puppets on the ground. Xiao Yan said calmly, it depends on whether there is the ice spirit cold spring that I need. Boy, don't think about it. I can't exchange the ice spirit cold spring I just got with you. Gut glanced sideways at Xiao Yan opposite him and hummed. That's right, with a younger brother like Dan King Furukawa, even without those institutions, who would dare to make plans here. Master Otto, let's go. Putting away his puppet, Xiao Yan turned around calmly and walked towards the stairs. Otto was shocked and mentioned the name Furu in front of Gut, but it was taboo. The deal seemed to be ruined. Gute looked at Xiao Yan's back, and his old voice was like thunder, stop. Without Gu He, I can still keep my treasure. Xiao Yan slowly turned around, and at this time there was a jade bottle in Gu Ti's hand. The jade bottle is surrounded by cold air, with a heart-touching coldness. In an instant, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Take it, this is the ice spirit cold spring you want. Gute threw the jade bottle to Xiao Yan without any nostalgia at this time. The palm of his hand was filled with a layer of black and yellow flames, and Xiao Yan reached out to catch the exquisite jade bottle. The terrifying cold air was tightly shrunk in the jade bottle under the power of the strange fire. Something. Gut said solemnly. Xiao Yan twisted the ring with his fingers and took out an ancient scroll. This scroll records part of the information on the intermediate puppet-making method, which can only be used in combat, and is very different from the all-powerful intermediate puppet-making method. After opening the scroll and checking it, Gut's eyes were filled with fascination. After a long time, Gut put the scroll into the ring and waved him away. You have got the thing, please leave as soon as possible. Hey, Master Gut has such a rich collection. How could he just leave like this? Xiao Yan smiled and rubbed his hands. This fire heart Aeschylus looks very good too. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was turning his face faster than flipping through a book, Gute asked himself that he was already very shameless, but he didn't expect that there was someone even more shameless than him. Curling his lips, Gut said rudely, if you can't come up with anything substantial, don't even think about taking advantage of my dear. Turning his palm, Xiao Yan had something prepared in advance. Once the magic crystal bomb is activated, even a strong Dou Qi will be injured by a sudden attack. If 3 of them are fired at the same time, even a strong Dou Ling will suffer a lot. Looking at the crystal round ball in Xiao Yan's palm, Gut's eyes narrowed slightly. It looked like the result of special tempering of the magic core. It is indeed extraordinary to make good use of the violent energy contained in the magic core. You have so many treasures, kid. I also have blood crystal grass and other rare medicinal materials. Do you want to consider it too? Gut smiled like a treacherous old fox. Xiao Yan smiled dryly and shook his head. Master Gut really loves to joke. He has already taken out the magic crystal bullets that were originally used to save his life. How can there be other treasures? Of these things that Gut collected, he just took a fancy to a fire attribute medicinal plant. Little bastard, I don't believe what you say. Gut grabbed the 3 magic crystal pills and immediately held them in his hands with a face filled with fascination. Xiao Yan put the medicinal materials into Neji with a slight chill, turned around and left Gut's residence with Otto. Otto breathed a sigh of relief. I was really shocked just now. You actually exchanged things after mentioning Furukawa in front of Gut. Thanks to Master Otto for introducing me to Gut's preferences. Xiao Yan thanked him with his hands. Otto smiled and shook his head. It's just a little effort. This seems to be a good thing for Gut. Those treasures in the hands of the old guy are just decorations. The guy is not bad in talent, but he is obsessed with all kinds of rare treasures, so he has been stuck in the third grade stage. Now if you devote yourself to making puppets, you might be able to find a new path. Xiao Yan didn't think much about Gyu's future. Some people need tangible gains, while others enjoy psychological satisfaction, and Gut belongs to the latter. Most people only know that Gyu likes to collect rare treasures, but they ignore the strange mechanisms that Gyu tinkered with. Xiao Yan discovered the blind spot early on and knew that Gut enjoyed the benefits of Dan Wang Furukawa's younger brother, but was not convinced. He still had a certain degree of confidence that he could get what he needed in exchange. When he gradually returned to the Alchemist Guild, Otto took out 2 brocade boxes from the ring. These are the third-order magic core and blood lotus essence you need. Black Rock City was truly worthy of being the city with the Alchemist Guild. Xiao Yan happily took the 2 items. The value of a third-level magic core plus blood lotus essence would not be less than 200,000 gold coins. However, Otto smiled and shook his head and rejected the money. With the financial resources of the Alchemist Guild, paying this fee is just a drop in the bucket. Since you are registered with our Black Rock City Alchemist Guild, you can naturally be considered one of our own. This busyness is nothing. Otto smiled casually and waved his hand. In a few years, the term will be held every 8 years. The Alchemist Conference will be held in the capital. If you are free at that time, you can attend it, which will be of great benefit to you. I will definitely go and have a look. Xiao Yan nodded. The reward of this Alchemist Conference is a prescription for the 6th grade elixir Roan Ling Dan. It is a very rare elixir related to the soul. Naturally, he will not let it go. Strong understanding can accelerate the speed of deduction. If you stand on the shoulders of giants, this speed will be further accelerated. For him, the greatest value of the 6th grade elixir fusion elixir prescription lies in the deduction. The Alchemist Guild building gradually appeared in front of the 2 of them, and Xiao Yan said goodbye with a smile. Looking at the figure gradually disappearing at the end, Otto smiled and said softly, Xiao Yan, I'm waiting for you at the Alchemist Conference. I hope you can shine again on that occasion. Chapter 62 3 Flowers Gather Fire Liquid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 62 3 Flowers Gathering Fire Liquid. Returning to his residence, Xiao Yan took the little medical ferry to the flight transportation center in the center of the city. Gut is a dogskin plaster. If he encounters a problem in his research on puppet making, he might discuss it with himself, relying on his status as a 2nd-grade alchemist. Xiao Yan and the little medical ferry boarded the flying beast heading to Maching on the eastern border of the Jia Ma Empire. I don't know if the eldest brother and the second brother have collected green scales. Entering the room, Xiao Yan looked at the faint clouds passing by outside, and a vague porcelain doll-like face appeared in his mind. The poisonous body of disaster and the 3-flowered eyes of the green snake are absolutely terrifying in terms of cultivation speed. Putting these things out of his mind, Xiao Yan glanced at the little medical fairy who was entering a state of cultivation not far away. Benefiting from his modified fighting spirit cultivation method, the little medical fairy absorbed the power of the medicine extremely quickly. It was only the 2nd day, and the green liquid in the bathtub had already faded a lot. Xiao Yan took out the medicinal materials and magic core from Neji, and prepared to refine the medicine again. After taking out several materials, the temperature of the room increased slightly. The Yao Lao, who closed his eyes to rest, exclaimed in surprise, "Isn't this the material recorded in my foundation building spiritual liquid prescription? Teacher, I can't let my own cultivation fall behind." Xiao Yan smiled slightly. This 3 flowers fire gathering liquid can strengthen my cultivation. Yao Lao nodded slightly and said appreciatively, yes, every alchemist needs to have his own prescription. Alchemists who don't have their own prescriptions will be a little more embarrassed when communicating with their peers. Seal of flame, open. Xiao Yan shouted deeply, and the flame mark between his eyebrows suddenly seemed to come alive, and a layer of red coat suddenly appeared on the surface of Xiao Yan's body. You can actually use the seal of flame. Isn't this a 4th-grade prescription? Yao Lao was shocked. He just thought that Xiao Yan might be able to successfully refine a 4th-grade elixir, and now he started to use it. This is the first time to refine the medicine you created. but it is extremely easy to fail. Yao Lao couldn't help but recall his experience of experimenting with foundation-building spiritual liquid. It was not a success once or twice, however. This also has a lot to do with the effect he wants to achieve. Prescriptions that promote the cultivation of fighting spirit are rare even in the entire fighting spirit continent. Yao Lao stared closely at the medicine cauldron, guarding against the cauldron exploding due to failure in refining the medicine. The power of the explosion was enough for a person at the level of a great fighting master to drink a pot of it. Black-yellow flames suddenly poured into the medicine cauldron, and Xiao Yan's expression became extremely solemn at this moment. The soul power surged out with almost no trace left behind. The thing Xiao Yan refined to help him cultivate was naturally the prescription of 3 flowers gathering fire liquid that he had just realized. The liquid medicine is ranked 4th grade and is of great benefit to practitioners of fire attribute fighting spirit. For Xiao Yan, it is an excellent tonic for the growth of Xianhuang Yan. Xiao Yan also felt tremendous pressure when it came to calcining medicinal materials such as fire heart esculus, which was nearly 100 years old. The power of the soul permeates almost every inch of the medicine cauldron. Once there is any slight reaction in the refining, it will be sent back to the mind in an instant to quickly judge whether the direction of refining the medicine is correct. Time passed bit by bit, and the rich fragrance of elixir seeped out of Xiao Yan's medicinal cauldron. After taking a few sips of the medicinal effect, Yao Lao pondered and nodded. Based on the concentration of the elixir, it was basically certain that what Xiao Yan had refined, even if it was placed in a 4th grade elixir, would definitely be of the top grade. After a long while, Xiao Yan sucked out the last refined material, put it into the jade bottle, and finally let out a long sigh of relief. Next is the most important fusion. Xiao Yan suddenly started dancing with his hands, and bottles of refined essence materials were poured into the medicine cauldron in an orderly manner. The flames immediately surged up and enveloped the material instantly. The black-yellow flame burned blazingly, and after a while, a faint reddish fragrance quietly rose up like smoke. Colored elixir fragrance. Yao Lao murmured subconsciously as he looked at the light red elixir fragrance. Colored elixirs are generally produced only by 5th grade elixirs. Of course, some pills that are at the top of the 4th grade can also be produced. I didn't expect that what Xiao Yan refined could actually reach this level. Give it to me. Xiao Yan shouted deeply, and slapped the medicine cauldron with his palm. The lid of the cauldron flew out, and a large black-yellow flame surged out from the medicine cauldron overwhelmingly. It was wrapped in black and yellow flames. From within, blazing red light shot out. As the light emitted, a rich red medicinal fragrance slowly rose up, and finally, like a spiritual mist, a red mist cloud formed above Xiao Yan's head. It was successful in one try. Yao Lao stared at the liquid medicine in stunned silence. He had thought before that Xiao Yan had activated the seal of flame and spent a few more medicinal materials to refine it into a 4th grade elixir. Thinking that Xiao Yan's ability was far beyond his imagination, Xiao Yan quickly put the liquid into the prepared jade bottles. A large group of liquid filled 5 jade bottles. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Xiao Yan left a bottle and drank it. The great burning technique was activated, and the energy of the 3-flowered fire-gathering liquid was immediately refined. The particularity of the great burning technique, the Xianhuang flame mastered by Xiao Yan, is the product of the highly compressed fire attribute fighting energy. 3 flowers gathering fire liquid contains pure fire energy and is the best nourishing item to enhance Xianhuang Yan, all poured into the bottomless pit of Xianhuang flame. Xiao Yan could clearly see that the Xianhuang flame was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. During the 3 days of flying, Xiao Yan and the little fairy doctor spent the entire time on the flying bird. Although they stopped at 2 rest stops along the way, they did not go out and stayed in a small room. After 3 days of training, the temperature of the powerful and hot Xianhuang flame has increased again. Even if there is no need to use fighting skills, the quality level of this fighting spirit alone is enough to make strong fighting masters look at it. A feeling of satisfaction arose in Xiao Yan's heart. With this progress, Xianhuang Yan would be able to reach the level of wild Qinglian earth core fire sooner or later. The great Burn Ju gives full play to the idea of Burn Ju changing from weak to strong. However, it did not evolve from a weak strange fire to Emperor Yan like Emperor Tuasha did, but started from the fire attribute fighting spirit. Dou Qi is the strange fire, and the strange fire is the Dou Qi. The two complement each other and are constantly strengthening. In the future, any random attack will have the power to burn mountains and boil seas, and the alien fire that is once again integrated into the true natural and earth-raised alien fire can maintain the integrity of the other alien fires and continue to give them the ability to grow. Chapter 63 The Sealed Ice Emperor Bodong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The growth of Xiao Yan accelerated Xiao Yan's understanding of Yin and Yang Yan. At the same time, the increase in the power of Xiao Yan also allowed Xiao Yan to further explore the pure Yang palm. You recall the Chunyang palm technique, you have an epiphany, you understand the Chunyang I Chi move. Pure Yang Qi, the most yang and strong palm technique, has strong restraint on the energy of Yin and evil attributes. At this time, the flying beast also landed slowly. After walking out of the somewhat dim flight transportation channel, their vision brightened slightly, and urban buildings with unique desert characteristics appeared in their field of vision. The strange-looking houses were an eye-opener for Xiao Yan and the little medical fairy. Standing on the street, the little medical fairy asked, "Where are we going now?" "Directly through the Tagore Desert to the Stone Desert City." "This is my first time to come to such a far place, so I'd better buy an accurate map of the Tagore Desert first." Xiao Yan pondered. Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiao Yan's heart. Those two brothers are really brave. They went out for training not long after they reached adulthood, and they were in a dangerous location like the border. My two brothers' qualifications are not bad, they just lack the resources such as good martial arts and fighting skills that only a big force can provide. Xiao Yan smiled. Yao Lao didn't know what Xiao Yan was thinking. He's trying to trick me, an old man, again. With his status as a second-grade alchemist, Xiao Yan quickly learned about the best map shop in Macheng. Xiao Yan and the little fairy doctor turned the corner and walked towards the shop. After walking for a while, a small shop with a simple atmosphere appeared in the sight of the little medical fairy and Xiao Yan. "Could we have been deceived?" the little medical fairy murmured. "No matter how you look at it, this decoration is very ordinary," Yao Lao immediately reminded. "It shouldn't be as simple as it seems. According to my detection, the old man who drew the picture should be at the Dou Huang level. However, he seems to have been suppressed by some strange force. Strength is only the strength of fighting spirit." Xiao Yan nodded slightly and said to the little medical fairy, "Let's go in and have a look. That I wonder how many medicinal materials Bodong has collected. It is not easy to get 6th-grade elixirs in the Gemma Empire." After suppressing the doubts in their hearts, Xiao Yan and the little medical fairy entered the shop and slowly walked to a simple wooden shelf. On top of it, some yellowed maps were piled randomly. Judging from the signs of damage on the surface of these maps, it seems that they were failures during the production of the maps. Xiao Yan picked up the pile of failed products and looked through them casually. The little medical fairy on the side also picked up a stack. As his palms shook slightly, a broken picture only the size of a palm suddenly fell from the failed folding product. Xiao Yan bent down and picked up the broken picture that looked like it would turn into powder when touched. His eyes suddenly shrank. It was this thing, a broken picture that contained the soul power of the pure lotus demon saint. "This thing seems a little unusual." Xiao Yan asked Yao Lao. Yao Lao said in a deep voice, "Your soul perception is not bad, this map is indeed extraordinary. But it is just a broken map, and I can't see any use." Xiao Yan smiled slightly. "Of course you can't tell now that the residual picture with important information is still in the Warcraft Mountains. This broken map is not for sale." Bodong slowly raised his head and scanned the broken map in Xiao Yan's hand. Although his tone was calm, there was an unquestionable attitude. Yao Lao smiled and said with some gloating, "It seems that it is a good thing to be so nervous and cannot be let go. No need to ask, since it's not until life or death is at stake that I won't take action." Xiao Yan looked at Bodong. "Old sir, I think there is no deal that cannot be completed in this world. But the person who can give me something that makes my heart beat is definitely not you." Bodong said lightly. Behind his back, Bodong had a white hair without wind, and ice-fighting spirit lingered around him. "If you plan to take it away by force, then don't blame me for bullying the young." Xiao Yan took off the puppet bird on his shoulder and put it in the hands of the astonished young medical fairy. "Hold this thing carefully, it will protect you. Glancing at the puppet bird with disdain, Bodong sneered, although your strength is not as strong as before due to that damn thing, it's not difficult to deal with a young boy like you. Then give it a try. Xiao Yan put the remaining picture in his hand into the ring and squinted his eyes slightly. Bodong suddenly rushed out, almost like a flash of lightning, approaching Xiao Yan, looking at Bodong who suddenly rushed towards him. Xiao Yan made a circle with his hands and shouted, "Reincarnation tribulation," that the terrifying power exceeded the upper limit of Xiao Yan's borrowed strength, forcing Xiao Yan to retreat step by step, and slammed into the wooden frame. There was a huge gap between the two of them. Xiao Yan stood with his legs in a two-word clamp, and the catastrophe of reincarnation suddenly disappeared in the void. Bodong was stunned, as his majestic power disappeared without a trace like a mud cow into the sea. This was the moment for Xiao Yan to fight back, seal of the Wolf King. Looking at the palms coming towards him with the sound of oppressive wind, Bodong quickly formed a seal with his dry hands and shouted softly, "Ice-condensing mirror." As Bodong's hand seal ended, the white mist in front of him suddenly stirred rapidly. In an instant, a transparent ice mirror about half a meter long and wide suddenly condensed in front of him. Bang! He struck hard with his palm, and finally hit the ice mirror heavily. Xiao Yan's expression suddenly changed. A strong rebound force shot out strangely, knocking his palm away. Xiao Yan did not retreat, but instead stepped forward with his elbows in front of him, and his majestic fighting spirit suddenly vented out. The 8 extreme soars to the sky. That a blazing energy was like a dragon coming out of the sea, hitting Bodong's chest with the force of thunder. This force was powerful and hot, like a meteor piercing the night sky, hitting Bodong instantly. And his straight figure suddenly flew out of the store. "Did you win?" the little medical fairy said in surprise. The opponent didn't seem to be very strong. No, the other party is a strong man at the fighting spirit level, and his strength is extraordinary. Xiao Yan waved his hand and looked out the door with a solemn expression, fighting spirit level. After hearing these 4 words, the little medical fairy stopped talking. The strongest shooter she has ever seen is a second-level monster from the Warcraft Mountains. It is only comparable to a fighting master among the strongest human beings, but it is enough to give the entire herb collection team a huge headache. This fighting spirit warrior is even more powerful than a fighting master. 2 levels stronger. Good guy, you can perform several high-level fighting skills in one move. Bodong slowly walked back to the shop and looked at Xiao Yan in astonishment. If he didn't have this level of fighting spirit strength and extraordinary physical fitness, and if he were a great fighting master, he might have suffered heavy losses from this set of combos. Chapter 64 Elementary Flame God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feeling the cold air emanating from Bodong's body, Xiao Yan did not answer. Only through the rotation of yin and yang can the dual inflammation of yin and yang be condensed. Now he has not reached the peak on his way to yang, let alone yin fire. Bodong, a practitioner of ice fighting chi, could just stimulate his understanding. Although you have many unique skills, you are just a fighter. Although my strength is greatly reduced now, it is not difficult to deal with you. Bodong said calmly. Xiao Yan said calmly, "Mister, if you have any skills, just use them. I am bound to get this residual picture." "Humph, I worked so hard to get something back then. Even though I have been studying it for more than 10 years, I still don't know what its exact use is. But I can at least know that the secrets it contains are definitely not small." Bodong sneered. Several white ice spikes shot out from the mist. Reincarnation tribulation. Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly shrank, his hands circled, and a force of energy gathered in front of him like a whirlwind. The ice spikes bombarded this powerful cyclone, and strangely turned into a puddle of ice water, spinning in the air. Xiao Yan could sense an icy chill constantly rushing towards the meridians in his body. His complexion changed slightly, and the black and yellow flames in his body suddenly filled the air, instantly blocking the invasion of the cold air. Breaking the universe. Xiao Yan pushed forward with both palms, and immediately the pool of ice water bounced back. Leveraging strength to fight, what a wonderful fighting skill. Bodong's face was solemn. He quickly formed a seal with one hand, and shouted softly, "Ice spirit armor." As the shouts fell, the icy mist that filled the surroundings suddenly formed a thick ice armor on Bodong's body that shone with an icy sheen. As for the pool of ice water that Xiao Yan rebounded from, Bodong stretched out his hand to hold it, and it instantly solidified into a snow-white ice spear. On the Dou Qi Continent, ordinary people can release their Dou Qi when they reach the Great Dou Master. At this time, if the fighting spirit is covered on the weapon, the attack power can be greatly increased. After reaching the Dou Ling level, you can condense weapons completely made of Dou Qi. In just a few breaths, the stores seemed to have turned into an ice cellar. Under the suppression of the ice, the Xianhuang flame in Xiao Yan's body burned even more fiercely. Warning against evil spirits and the scorching sun. Xiao Yan's eyes were sharp and he shouted deeply. The vortex of fighting in his body rotated rapidly like a turbine. The pure fighting energy shuttled through the meridians in his body, and a powerful energy shot out. As soon as the move was performed, the ice condensed in the entire room began to melt, and the sound of dripping water could be heard endlessly, although it was still the same person who carried out the attack. The moment Xiao Yan took out his palm, Bodong's face became extremely solemn. This fire attribute fighting skill is extraordinary, and the destructive power it contains cannot be compared to Xiao Yan's previous attacks. The palm of his hand tightened suddenly, and then the ice spear stabbed out with bone-chilling energy. Looking at Bodong, who chose to fight head-on, the corners of Xiao Yan's mouth rose slightly. Although his strength is indeed average, the strange fire of Xianhuang Yan has gradually grown up, and using it to perform fighting skills is not something that this small ice gun can withstand. The palm force and the ice spear clashed together, and a circle of hot energy ripples spread out from the intersection. Melt. Following Xiao Yan's cold shout and hiss, the ice gun melted instantly. In one round, the weapon was easily destroyed by the opponent, and Bodong's expression suddenly became quite ugly. This is another fighting skill that is no less powerful than the earth level, but it actually doesn't even have a chance to convey ice fighting energy to him. Facing a strong man at the fighting spirit level, Xiao Yan would not hold back in the slightest. All the majestic fighting energy in the body returned to the palm of his hand, and a black-yellow ball suddenly appeared. Emitting an extremely scorching heat wave, Xiao Yan shouted, "Pure Yang Qi." As his words fell, the black-yellow ball instantly burst out with a powerful energy, burning like a pure yang fire, heading straight towards Bodong. This force was so powerful that the ice in the store began to melt rapidly in an instant, and the temperature rose and returned to normal. Before Bodong could breathe a sigh of relief, he saw this even more terrifying fighting skill. He has used so many high-level fighting skills and mastered each one very skillfully. Did he start practicing after he was born? The training of this fighting skill takes a long time, and the higher the level of the fighting skill, the more so that the strongest power of the fighting skill can be exerted. A thought flashed through his mind. Bodong kicked his toes and retreated quickly. As he retreated, his hands danced rapidly, and as his palms danced, pieces of ice mirrors flashing with cold light quickly condensed out, blocking this terrifying fighting skill. The moment Bodong arranged the 5 ice mirrors, there were soft and crisp sounds in front of him. The pure yang energy rushed all the way, and the ice mirrors along the way were burned into nothingness by this attack. And it seems that its power has not diminished at all. Bang! The pure yang qi surged like a tiger descending a mountain, heading straight towards Bodong's ice spirit armor. The ice spirit armor was originally condensed with ice, but at this moment, under the power of the pure sun, it melted instantly like thin ice encountering the scorching sun. Cracks began to appear on the surface of the ice spirit armor, spreading around like a spider web. Bodong felt the pressure of pure yang qi and was horrified. He watched helplessly as the ice spirit armor shattered like a bubble under the bombardment of pure yang qi. The ice spirit armor that was originally so proud was now destroyed by pure yang energy like child's play. If Xiao Yan were a fighting master, with his extremely powerful fire attribute fighting skills, maybe the ice emperor of his generation would be devastated on the spot. With a flick of his arm, Bodong directly dispersed the white mist caused by the broken ice spirit armor in the shop. Good boy, let me see how much fighting energy you still have available. After performing powerful fighting skills one after another, Xiao Yan's face turned pale, and his fighting spirit had indeed bottomed out. But, you have deduced using Dou Qi Shai, Dou Qi armor, and ice spirit armor. You have an epiphany, and you have understood the secret method of the primary flame god. Elementary flame god, cooperate with the special secret method used by the flame seal to mobilize the energy of the flame seal to condense the bones and body for combat. Seal of flame, open. Xiao Yan closed his palms, and the black hair between his eyebrows fluttered, revealing the constantly beating flame mark. Looking at Xiao Yan's strange behavior, Bodong was slightly stunned, then his expression suddenly changed. How is this possible? Feeling the rising momentum, Bodong's plain face finally showed a hint of shock, as the energy outside Xiao Yan's body condensed into thick bones. The hot breath immediately completely melted the ice in the shop, causing white mist to rise. In the white mist, Bodong's face gradually became serious. What kind of secret method is this? Chapter 65, Easily Obtained Remaining Pictures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No wonder Bodong was so shocked, even though in this Dou Qi Continent, there were many secret techniques that could increase his strength so quickly. However, the levels of those secret techniques are at least above the earth level. In this Dou Qi Continent, the only people or forces who can come up with secret techniques of this level are a handful of super forces or hidden super strong men. Compared with those transcendent beings, the Jiama Empire is undoubtedly like a firefly competing with the bright moon. I really can't believe it today. I have been living in seclusion for more than 20 years, and yet I was rendered helpless by a young boy like you, Bodong, who had been suppressed by Xiao Yan's powerful fighting skills one after another and had his fighting spirit sealed for many years, had suffered enough. The soles of his feet suddenly hit the ground. Bodong quickly formed seals with his hands in front of his body, and suddenly let out a low roar from his throat, Xian Bing spin kill. Suddenly, a series of crescent-shaped ice blades emerged spinning around him. Finally, a spiral storm completely combined with ice blades was formed, and it suddenly swept towards Xiao Yan. Along the way, the floor of the room was almost destroyed with ravines and ravines. Xiao Yan stood there, surrounded by circles of blazing red ribs, as if wrapped in a layer of indestructible armor. An extremely thick skeletal arm suddenly stretched out to face the ice blade storm. What? Looking at Xiao Yan's actions, Bodong's extremely surprised voice suddenly came out from the ice blade storm. Now he is performing advanced Xian-level fighting skills. With his powerful fighting spirit level, what kind of secret technique can give a small fighter such great confidence? Yao Lao, who knew something about Xiao Yan, had already sensed the extraordinary nature of Xiao Yan's method. Combining the two flames of Xianhuang Yan and Peach Blossom Fire, this huge skeleton condensed with majestic fighting energy is far more powerful than the fighting spirit armor of the great fighting master and the weapons condensed by fighting spirits. The reason why as a teacher he can only be said to have some understanding is because Xiao Yan frequently comes up with new tricks. For example, something like this was something he didn't understand. The power contained in the bones that suddenly extended out was as strange as its birth. It was a kind of power beyond ordinary people's understanding, with the absolute power to destroy everything. It instantly tore apart the ice blade storm outside Bodong with its devastating power, and grasped Bodong at the center of the storm. Looking at the cracks spreading outside the skeleton, Bodong felt extremely regretful, and at the same time, there was undoubtedly a storm in his heart. What weird thing is this? His are not just a few kitchen knives, but advanced Xian-level fighting skills. Even some fighting kings who are stronger in physical defense will be strangled to a bloody pulp if they hit the Xianbing spin kill. But the damage caused to the skeleton only caused cracks. Old sir, you have failed. Xiao Yan placed Bodong on the ground, and the red bones on his body slowly disappeared. Bodong smiled bitterly and said, "Boy, I did underestimate you. However, I must lose clearly when I lose. The object condensed by the strange fire cannot be damaged by ordinary ice." Xiao Yan smiled and shrugged, and put the puppet bird in the little doctor's hand on his shoulder again. Strange fire. No wonder. Bodong suddenly frowned when his eyes noticed the little medical fairy. In the battle between the two just now, the shop was almost destroyed, but the little girl was unscathed. What is that puppet bird? Many powerful fighting skills, weird secrets, strange fires, extraordinary puppet birds. Bodong chuckled, his smile a little weird, and said, "Don't hold on, I can see that the move just now has exhausted all your strength." The little medical fairy looked at Xiao Yan nervously. He continued to have the upper hand in a battle with a strong spirit fighter. Any fighter should have reached the bottom. Xiao Yan waved his hand. As I said just now, there is no deal that cannot be completed in the world. It should be a good deal to exchange the old gentleman's life for a broken map. Bodong glanced at the puppet bird with fear. For some reason, he always felt an inexplicable chill on his back. If he attacked Xiao Yan, he would die at any time. I didn't expect that after living here in seclusion for many years, I would be made so embarrassed by a junior like you today. Bodong sighed, the words suddenly changed, and Bodong asked doubtfully, is this fragment of the picture important to you? I worked hard to get this thing back then. Although I have been studying it for more than 10 years, I still don't know what its exact use is, but I can at least know that the secrets it contains are definitely not small. My soul perception is just a little stronger, and I noticed that the map material is unusual. Xiao Yan took out the residual map, and a wisp of flame suddenly burst out from his hand. The broken picture seemed to be broken at any time, but it did not change at all under the burning of the flames. It was also the first time for Bodong to know that this residual picture had fireproof properties, and he was amazed. Yao Lao knew that this was Shenhuang flame. Although Xiao Yan's fighting energy was almost exhausted now, its power was far beyond that of ordinary flames, able to withstand the calcining of strange fire. This residual picture is indeed extraordinary. After a little display, Xiao Yan put away the flames. He wouldn't be able to burn for long now. Bodong smiled and said, boy, I appreciate what you just said. There is no deal that cannot be completed in the world. After I got this residual map, I relied on many years of cartography experience to perfectly divide it into 2 parts. Share. With a flick of his finger, Bodong took out a piece of extremely ancient yellowed paper from the ring and threw it to Xiao Yan. He reached out to touch the materials of the 2 and burned them with strange fire. Only then did Xiao Yan confirm that what Bodong gave was the real thing. Leave it to me so easily. Xiao Yan was a little surprised, and even couldn't believe it. Bodong sighed, this residual picture is not a good thing for me. When I got this fragment of the map, I was chased by Queen Medusa of the snake tribe. Although I escaped by chance, I was struck by her snake seal. My body aged rapidly and my strength was reduced to the level of a Dou. Spiritual level. After all these years, I haven't studied the secrets of the remaining pictures. If it were possible, Bodong never got it. The little medical fairy didn't expect that the old man's strength would still be at the spirit level after being sealed, so he curiously asked, what was the old man's previous strength? You must have heard of the name Ice Emperor, right? Bodong had a look of pride on his face. Ice King, that even the little medical fairy is still no stranger to this powerful man. The Ice Emperor was one of the top 10 strongest men in the former Garma Empire. He was aloof and arrogant, and was extremely good at ice-based fighting spirit. He once froze an entire city in a fit of rage. Unexpectedly, the powerful man who was once admired by countless people would actually sell maps in this place. Chapter 66 Epiphany After the War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 66 Post-War Epiphany. Bodong smiled and said, you have shown the strange fire, and now you have the opportunity to trade with me, otherwise I would rather take it into the coffin. You want me to help you break the seal? Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes slightly. I got a prescription that can break the seal in my early years. Only a 6th-grade alchemist with a strange fire can refine it. Bodong glanced at the 2nd-grade alchemist badge on Xiao Yan's chest. Although you are only a 2nd-grade alchemist now, I believe that with your eccentricity, it will not take you a few years to become a 6th-grade alchemist. It is said that Alchemy King Furukawa only became a 1st-grade alchemist at the age of 19. Compared with the talent of the person in front of him, the number 1 alchemist in the Gamma Empire was far inferior. Xiao Yan smiled coquettishly. You really think highly of me, aren't you afraid that I will take my things and run away? Because I also know a piece of information about the extraordinary fire. If you have my guidance, you will soon be able to find a kind of alien fire in the Tagore Desert. Bodong said with a smile, strange fire has a fatal temptation for alchemists. Yao Lao couldn't help but laugh. you, the Ice King of the Jiama Empire, obviously don't know much about alchemists. Normally, the limit for an alchemist to possess a kind of strange fire is the limit. Xiao Yan did not respond, but said to Bodong, you should ask Dan Wang Guha for this. If Dan Wang Guha can obtain the strange fire, Dan Wang Guha owes you a big favor and will refine a 6 appreciating elixirs is a simple matter of effort. Impossible. Bodong shook his head, if I have all the medicinal materials, even if Dan King Furukawa obtains the strange fire, he will not be able to refine the elixir for me immediately. And those medicinal materials, even Dan King Furukawa can't immediately refine the elixir for me. Not easy to find. There is another reason. Dan King Furukawa is basically maintained by the Yunlan sect. He obtained the strange fire, which is not a good thing for the Mitre family, Bodong said in a deep voice. As long as you can refine the elixir I need, I will not only tell you the news about the strange fire, but I, the Ice Emperor Bodong, also owe you a favor. Yao Lao said resolutely, promise him. I once went to the Tagore desert back then. There was indeed a kind of strange fire hidden in that desert. The information about the strange fire, plus we will not lose the Dou Huang's favor. Well, I'll try my best. Xiao Yan nodded helplessly. How should we contact you then? Or are we still here, that the location of Qinglian's earth core fire, if he remembered correctly, should be in the southeastern area of Stone Desert City? Bodong glanced at the messy shops, thought for a while and said, when you are ready, go to my Tel auction house to find me. In this Jiama Empire, I will definitely arrive within 3 days. You want me to take the initiative to contact you? It seems that Hai Lao is very confident in himself. Xiao Yan chuckled. Bodong said, I have collected the medicinal materials for that prescription for many years, so I still have some confidence. Taking a roll of maps of the Tagore desert for nothing, Xiao Yan and the little fairy doctor left the map shop that was full of messes. Looking at Xiao Yan and the 2 people who slowly disappeared after opening the door, Bodong narrowed his eyes slightly, remained silent for a moment, and left the shop, hiring a huge camel carriage. Xiao Yan and the little fairy doctor immediately headed to Stone Desert City. This kind of carriage in the desert is quite large, equivalent to a small room. Which is enough for Xiao Yan and the little medical fairy to practice in peace. After all his fighting spirit was exhausted, Xiao Yan started practicing immediately after the carriage set off on the road. Although the primary flame god achieved absolute victory in the end, his opponent was Bodong, who had ice fighting spirit. He showed great restraint, and the whole process only lasted 3 seconds. The short duration is also a huge flaw. The desert environment is very rich in fire energy, which is quite beneficial to Xiao Yan's practice. After fighting Bodong, Xiao Yan's understanding of the yin and yang dual flames gradually became clear. Bodong's powerful ice fighting qi exerted an effect against the equally powerful Xianhuang flame. It not only restrained it, but also stimulated the Xianhuang flame to further increase its power. However, this is always an external stimulus and the effect is too low. One evening on the 5th day, Xiao Yan's momentum reached the peak of the 7-star fighter. Twisting the ring with his fingers, Xiao Yan took out the ice spirit cold spring and swallowed it without hesitation. The bone-chilling cold current passed through his throat, and Xiao Yan seemed to notice that the throat had been condensed into a ball of ice. Xiao Yan's whole body was trembling slightly, and his hair was covered with crystal strands of ice. The cold current rushes all the way into the body, and then begins to flow in all directions along the meridians. Any meridians passed by this cold current will quickly be covered with a layer of milky white ice on the meridians and bones. The body suddenly turned into a world of ice. Xianhuang Yan, who was curled up in the cyclone of Dou Qi, anxiously urged the cyclone of Dou Qi to rotate rapidly. With this help, Xiao Yan's great burning technique operates at a speed far faster than before, spinning rapidly like a turbine. The fighting energy of Xianhuang Yan travels along the meridians. When it encounters the meridians covered with ice, the temperature of Xianhuang Yan suddenly rises a lot, melting the ice on the meridians, the ice that cannot be melted directly by the wild Qinglian earth core fire. There is still a big gap between the Xianhuang Yan cultivated by Xiao Yan and the wild Qinglian earth core fire. Naturally, it cannot be melted at once. After the Xuanhuangjian fighting energy circulated in a circle according to the great burning technique, the temperature of the Xuanhuangjian continued to increase under the suppression of the ice. After running for an unknown number of times, the ice layers adhering to the four walls of the meridians melted away from each other, and a faint white mist lingered in the meridians. The Xianhuang Yan Dou Qi surged through, sweeping away the mist in one fell swoop, absorbing them all like a hungry wolf. In an instant, the two energies reacted violently. At this time, Xiao Yan's skin turned fiery red, as if a volcano was erupting inside his body, and magma seemed to be surging under his skin, turning his body into a blazing furnace. A terrifying heat wave roared in like a violent wind, instantly causing the car to explode. The camel and horse were terrified. Their hooves were trembling wildly, and they were struggling wildly. The air around them seemed to be torn apart, fragments were flying everywhere, and the fragments of the carriage were flying like raindrops. The shocking explosion immediately attracted the attention of the little doctor, the coachman, and the old man outside the carriage. "What's going on again?" On the dry poplar tree, Yao Lao was shocked at the same time. His eyes immediately blinked, and a forest-white beam of light instantly cut off the reins to prevent the hunchback from pulling Xiao Yan away. With a neighing sound, the coachman suddenly looked away from Xiao Yan, who was like a small fireman. He suddenly didn't care about anything and chased after him. "My horse. I haven't given you the money yet." The little medical fairy shouted to the coachman, but found that the coachman didn't listen at all. He turned back to look at Xiao Yan, who seemed to be breathing fire, and murmured worriedly, "What's going on?" Chapter 67 Yin and Yang Twin Flames. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 67 Yin and Yang Double Flame. Xiao Yan now only felt hot all over his body, like falling lava. With a palm of his right hand, he slapped the dry poplar tree where Yao Lao was standing. Yao Lao only felt a searing wave of air coming towards his face. If Xiao Yan had such strength in the map shop before, there would be no need to fight until the end to activate the seal of flame. Zhigang Jiang's palm force suddenly broke the tree trunk that the man was hugging. The place where the break was broken was pitch black and the color of charcoal. Xiao Yan suddenly stood up, his body filled with black and yellow flames, and he shot out one palm after another. Yao Lao flew to the side of the little medical fairy and looked at him in ecstasy. "The power of the pure yang palm has been greatly increased, that the fighting skills created by Xiao Yan are all comparable in power to earth-level fighting skills. It is far easier for him to perform the fighting skills himself than to learn other people's fighting skills." From Yao Lao's perspective, it was only a matter of time before he could advance to the next level. At this time, Xiao Yan's whole body was burning, but it was extremely beneficial for practicing pure yang palm. But seeing Xiao Yan hitting faster and faster, the remaining power of his palms emitted, causing the surrounding temperature to rise rapidly. Yao Lao felt relieved. Xiao Yan's strength was too low. If he used it like this, it wouldn't take long for his fighting spirit to be exhausted. You have used the pure yang palm technique many times, and you have had an epiphany. You have understood the move, pure yang penetrating the earth. Pure yang penetrating the earth. The pure yang palm has reached the realm of the fierce yang penetrating the earth, and its power has reached the earth level. Pure yang penetrates the earth. Xiao Yan shouted in a deep voice, his figure poised like a bow and arrow, his whole body filled with the majestic black and yellow flame fighting energy, lighting up the darkness like a blazing sun. Xiao Yan pushed out with a palm, and the majestic fire power was like a violent scourge, breaking free from the restraints and rushing towards the ground. The fierce power of the Yang Jigang flame seemed to tear apart space and shatter everything. Under this force, the entire ground shook violently as if it had been hit hard by a giant hammer. Dust and sand flew into the sky, and a powerful shock wave suddenly shot out in the distance, setting off patches of dust and smoke. Under this force, the sand melted directly into a glass-like substance. Pure Yang Guandi brings the extremely strong Yang fighting spirit in Xiao Yan's body to its extreme. With one palm, the ground shakes and the mountains shake. With unparalleled power, Yao Lao was horrified. This was the first time Xiao Yan had created an earth-level fighting skill. The fighting spirit must be exhausted, right? Yao Lao stared at Xiao Yan closely with his eyes. After realizing the pure Yang Guandi, Xiao Yan completely entered a new world. The sun generates Xiao Yin, Tai Yin generates Xiao Yang, combines the power of Yin and Yang, transforms into the image of Tai Chi, and achieves boundless and vast power. this is exactly the yin and yang that he has been thinking about. A breakthrough is coming. Yao Lao suddenly noticed that the energy of heaven and earth suddenly surged desperately towards Xiao Yan. The moment Yao Lao was aware of it, the energy surging in the surrounding world became more and more rapid. In the end, Xiao Yan's body almost turned into a black hole, continuously absorbing the energy of heaven and earth that crazily poured into his body. Moreover, with the high-speed rotation of the cyclone in Xiao Yan's body, the suction force emitted by his body became more and more terrifying. The mottled energy between heaven and earth actually seemed to form a lustrous energy light curtain more than 10 feet around Xiao Yan, which was extremely dazzling. A large amount of mottled energy poured in, and after coming into contact with the Xianhuang flame, the huge size shrank rapidly. In just the blink of an eye, huge masses of heaven and earth energy were calcined into drops of liquid energy only the size of fingernails. After Xianhuang Yan finished calcining the impurities in these energies, he allowed them to crash straight into the cyclone. The liquid energy was projected into the rapidly rotating yellow cyclone, causing ripples of energy. Under Xiao Yan's mental gaze, a yin-yang fish-like flame was slowly born in the center of the cyclone. With the input of drops of liquid energy, the nascent twin flames of yin and yang burned fiercely and began to grow rapidly. The scorching temperature caused Xiao Yan's Dou Qi cyclone to slowly shrink in size. It made such a big noise again, that it was not the first time that Yao Lao had seen the energy vortex of heaven and earth gathering in the blink of an eye. It was almost like flooding, and it was fiercely rushing inside Xiao Yan's body. Faced with this seemingly never-ending infusion, the cyclone with its two strange fires is naturally open to all comers. The scorching heat refined it into droplets of pure energy liquid, which continued to drip down like a drizzle in Xiao Yan's body. Under the nourishment of such energy, the yin and yang flames grew significantly faster than the Xianhuang flames, quickly confirming their status as the masters of the Dou Qi cyclone. After absorbing an unknown amount of pure liquid energy, the current Dou Qi cyclone is no longer the size of a palm. However, the flame contained within it was several times more powerful. The black and white flames intertwined together, swimming like yin and yang fishes. Outside the core is the black-yellow flame. With the operation of the Great Burning Technique, the two strange fires gradually merged into one, and there was a black-yellow halo around the yin and yang flames. This is the power of practicing the Great Burning Technique. The most unique point of the Great Burning Technique is that it teaches you to cultivate your own fire attribute fighting spirit to the level of strange fire, and this fighting spirit can continue to evolve, and eventually your own fighting spirit can reach or even surpass the level of Emperor Yan. When the two strange fires merged, the high-speed rotating black and white cyclones suddenly stopped. After an instant, it actually began to rotate in the opposite direction. The pure energy liquid in the cyclone was swept almost every part of the body by the black and white cyclone, and slowly integrated into the meridians, bones, and flesh. The cyclone's reverse rebound lasted for half an hour before slowly stopping. At this time, Xiao Yan's breakthrough also came to an end. The moment the suction disappeared, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel ecstatic in his heart. During this training, not only did he realize the dual flames of yin and yang, but his fighting spirit strength also broke through to the Dou master level. Xiao Yan could feel that as his strength increased, almost every piece of his bones and flesh had undergone transformation and was filled with powerful power. Feeling the aura emanating from Xiao Yan's body, the puppet bird slowly landed on Xiao Yan's shoulder. Yao Lao said with a smile, he broke through from a 7-star fighter to a master. This little guy is really lucky and enviable. Xiao Yan stood up and also grinned. Becoming a fighting master also means that he has broken away from the public hierarchy. Although the level of Dou master can only be regarded as a lower level in the mainland, it is undoubtedly much more powerful and advanced than the bottom Dou master. However, everything does not come without a price. The practice of the Great Burning Technique has its advantages and disadvantages. Being able to raise the level quickly at the beginning will make future training a little easier. Chapter 68 Mercenary Bloody Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The essence of comprehended strange fire is high-purity fire attribute fighting spirit. Compared with the strange fire that was born and raised on earth, the power of this kind of strange fire lacks the nourishment of countless years of heaven and earth energy. Therefore, if you want to bring the power of these strange fires to the level of real strange fires, this means that Xiao Yan needs huge resources to cultivate them. Among them, Items with fire attributes such as amethyst source and 3 flowers gathering fire liquid are the best. If there is no auxiliary cultivation object, then Xiao Yan can only rely on his own fire attribute fighting energy for irrigation. To put it simply, Xiao Yan no longer practices for himself, he also practices for the strange fire he has comprehended. In this way, as Xiao Yan's understanding of strange fire increases, the pressure on Xiao Yan's cultivation becomes greater. However, the benefits of practicing this way are also obvious. In the future, Xiao Yan's random strikes will be equipped with the power of several terrifying strange fires. If one uses fighting spirit of this quality to perform fighting skills, the power will be unimaginably powerful. Xiao Yan scratched his head. Hey, where is the camel carriage? You don't know. The little medical fairy rolled her eyes at Xiao Yan, looked at Xiao Yan's confused look, and explained, when you broke through, the reins broke and the camel ran away. The driver hurriedly chased after you. I'm not back now, Yao Lao chuckled. Xiao Nizi has been watching over you all night. The breakthrough was a bit sudden. Xiao Yan smiled at the little fairy doctor and took out a bag of water from the Neji. Drink some water first. Fortunately, we are not far from Stone Desert City. After moistening his chapped lips, the little medical fairy asked, what strength have you achieved now? 1-star fighting master level. Xiao Yan suddenly clenched his palms, and black and white fighting spirit suddenly appeared on the surface of his body. After the fighting spirit emerged, it suddenly converged again and slowly stuck to the outside of the clothes, as if forming a layer of fighting spirit defense. Dou Qi Shai is the signature skill of a strong dosher, and it is also the most practical skill. It can enhance the master's defense, speed, and attack, and can better absorb the energy of the world from the outside world to replenish the consumption in the master's body. Fighting Master. The little fairy doctor's beautiful eyes widened a bit. Mu Shi, the strongest person in Qingshan town, was only at the level of Fighting Master. However, Mu Shi is more than twice as old as Xiao Yan. Seeing the surprised look on the little medical fairy's face, Xiao Yan waved his hand. This is nothing. You will understand it later. Why did your fighting spirit turn into black and white? Yao Lao asked doubtfully. He could detect that this fighting spirit contained some Xianhuang Yan aura, but it was not obvious. It was dominated by a stronger energy now. Xiao Yan put away his Dou Qi gauze, took out some dried meat and sesame seed cakes and shared them with the little medical fairy, and then talked about the changes in his body. This is naturally because I have an epiphany about the yin and yang dual flames. Double inflammation of yin and yang. Yao Lao was extremely shocked. Yin and yang dual flames, ranked 21st on the list of strange fires. This is a much more powerful flame than the Xianhuang Yan. Yao Lao immediately asked, what is the level of the Great Burning Dew? Xiao Yan shook his head slightly with regret. He is still at the lower level of Xian level and has not been promoted. This is also expected. Yao Lao sighed. The most direct basis for ranking on the strange fire list is the strength of the strange fire power. The strange fire that Xiao Yan understood lacked the accumulation of strange fire. It was not even as good as the beast fire of high-level magical beasts, and was too weak. Xiao Yan, however, was very open-minded. As you develop them in the future, the level of your skills will naturally evolve. It can only be like this. Yao Lao nodded slightly. Then is there anything unusual about the 2 kinds of strange fires in your body? Generally, an alchemist is very lucky to have 1 kind of strange fire. This is the first time I have seen mastering 2 kinds of strange fires. A man of strange fire. Xiao Yan muttered, there is nothing abnormal about the abnormality. However, if I were to use 2 kinds of strange fires, it would require a lot of fighting energy, which is far less easy than using 1 kind of strange fire. The Great Burning Technique allows the Dou Qi to evolve to a level beyond the Emperor Flame, allowing the other 22 wild fires to survive and display their power. Therefore, there will be some disadvantages if you want to mobilize multiple types of strange fires separately in the early stage. It's nothing. The fused alien fire is far more powerful than just 1 alien fire. Yao Lao didn't care. After the meal, Xiao Yan and the little doctor walked towards Shimo City for nearly half an hour, holding a parasol. There are mercenaries fighting, a lot of them. Xiao Yan's keen soul perception allowed him to instantly detect the danger in the distance. Yao Lao nodded slightly. There are two groups of mercenaries fighting. They were probably attracted by the strange phenomenon that occurred when you broke through yesterday. Xiao Yan took out a water bag. Little medical fairy, you take a rest here first, I'll go ahead and explore the way. Taking the water bag, the little medical fairy gently wiped the sweat on her forehead with the back of her hand. She was panting slightly, and matched with her soft cheeks, she looked quite endearing. Xiao Yan flew towards the direction of the battle like lightning, and finally stopped on a high sandy surface, looking at the large number of people in the desert below. In the desert below, nearly 100 mercenaries were fighting. Xiao Yan soon discovered a familiar figure among the crowd, second brother. At this time, Shaoli was fighting someone at a critical moment. He swung the spear in his hand and shouted, 3 dances of thunder arc. In an instant, 3 snake-shaped arcs suddenly flashed out from the gun body. The arcs of electricity flashed across each other, and the piercing sound contained a powerful energy that no one dared to underestimate. Thunder-attributed fighting spirit belongs to the type of all-in-one attack. Shaoli, who had thunder-attributed fighting spirit, took the upper hand. Mo Xing, who was not as strong as Shaoli, hurriedly backed up in an embarrassed manner. Captain, save me. Rob is here too. Shaoli frowned, his murderous intention even stronger. The Desert Iron Mercenary Group and the Sand Mercenary Group are similar in overall strength, except that the leader of the Sand Mercenary Group, Rob, is a great fighter. What happened today is that the Modi Mercenary Group has already formed a relationship with the Sand Mercenary Group. Let's kill this Mo Xing first. The Sand Mercenary Group has no fighting masters except Mo Xing, but the Modi Mercenary Group has 4 fighting masters. Together, they may not be Rob's opponent. Just when the tip of the spear was about to hit Mo Xing, a middle-aged man wearing a bamboo hat suddenly stepped out of the crowd. In one step, he arrived in front of Mo Xing. There was a golden light in his palm, and he resisted the tip of the spear flashing with lightning arcs. Fighting armor. It's really annoying. Looking at the thick yellow armor on the middle-aged man, Shaoli used his strength to retreat, his eyes very wary. Rob said calmly, Second Commander Shaoli, you are still young and you will have many opportunities in the future. There is no need to die here now. It's not certain who will die. Xiao Yan rushed towards the mercenaries in the melee from a distance. Chapter 69 Little Sword Step. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The roar like a tiger descending from the mountain made Rob frown. Could the Modi mercenary group be of any help? But seeing that the person coming was just a young man in black robe, Rob grinned at Shaoli. Where did you find this stupid young man? Xiao Yanzi. Shaoli looked at the visitor with a deep look, his eyes full of astonishment and surprise. At this time, shouldn't he be practicing at home? It seems that this person is an acquaintance of yours. Rob quickly caught the difference in the way Shaoli looked at the other person. Mo Xing, I'll leave this person to you. If you can't even deal with a young man. A trace of cruelty appeared on Rob's face. You should commit suicide. Captain, don't worry, I will cut this man into pieces. Mo Xing smiled scornfully and licked the blade of the scimitar in his hand. While the two were talking, Xiao Yan suddenly accelerated. In a few steps, he rushed into the battle circle and came to the side of a slim figure. This woman's pretty face is quite delicate, but her slightly raised eyebrows reveal a hint of unruliness like a little female leopard in the desert. Looking at such a temperament, you can imagine that although this desert flower is very beautiful, it is covered in thorns. This woman was dressed quite boldly and fiercely. The short clothes only covered her breasts and the area below them, but her sexy bronze waist was exposed to everyone's sight. Under the same short leather skirt, a slender sexy thigh is exposed. The slender waist and tight thighs are fatally attractive to men. Her strength was not low, and she had the upper hand in a battle with a mercenary from the Sand Mercenary Group. However, if you want to end the battle, you have to stay in a stalemate for a long time. Xiao Yan moved like the wind, grabbed the woman's wrist, and pulled it gently. The woman's short knife quickly spun, and the opponent's weapon was instantly swung away. Before the opponent could react, the cold blade had already cut through him, and the light of life was instantly extinguished. Looking at Xiao Yan's thunderous hand, Shuelan slightly opened her red lips, her pretty face filled with disbelief. the opponent was an elite member of the Sand Mercenary group, and he died just like that. Xiao Yan kept moving, driving Xue Lan through the battlefield, looking like a vigorous swimming dragon. Within 10 steps, more than 10 people from the Sand Mercenary group were eliminated. Looking at Xiao Yan's thunderous method, the leader of the Modi mercenary group who had lost his opponent had his mouth hanging open, his face filled with astonishment, and his eyes staring at the young man's back in horror. It was hard for them to imagine how such a terrifying power could be hidden in this thin body. Moreover, this is with one person. Although Xiao Yan relieved part of the pressure for the people of the Modi mercenary group, the whole process only lasted 3 or 5 breaths. Looking at the corpses that had lost their heads in a short period of time, beads of sweat the size of peas suddenly appeared on Mo Xing's forehead, and the expression on his face was as if he had seen a ghost. Is this the strength that a normal young person should have? Even if he was a strong fighting master, he would have to try his best to kill so many mercenaries. How can a young man be so relaxed and comfortable, especially with the burden of a woman? I haven't seen you for a while, but this little guy's strength is so terrifying. Xiao Li stared at Xiao Yan with a face full of surprise. Mo Xing, try to delay as much as possible. I will deal with Xiao Li first. When Xiao Ding's reinforcements arrive, there is nothing to fear. Rob shouted in a deep voice. He also didn't expect that such a ruthless character would appear in the middle of a stalemate. At this time, Mo Xing had completely lost the confidence he had just now. His body bowed slightly and he held the scimitar in his hand tightly with his palm. Our Sand Mercenary group is the first mercenary group in Stone Desert City, and its leader Rob is a strong man at the level of a great fighter. If my friend chooses a partner to cooperate with, he should choose a stronger one. If you want a woman. Mo Xing Jijia smiled sarcastically. Not only the beauty Xuelan of the Modi mercenary group, but also the enchanting snake girl, the Sand Mercenary group can also provide it. Xiao Yan stretched out his hand to lift Xue Lan's delicate chin in his arms, carefully examined her delicate face, and smiled slightly. It turns out she is still a flower. You. Being stared at by this handsome young man, Xue Lan gently stroked a wisp of sweat-stained black hair in front of her forehead with her slender hands. Her inadvertent charm made Mo Xing, who was not far away, very hot. This powerful and iconic little female leopard, with her flat waist without a trace of fat, would definitely be able to explode with extraordinary strength if she got on the bed. Xue Lan shook her slightly wavy black hair, and said with a blush on her pretty face, "Don't believe this bastard, help our Modi mercenary group. You can still get generous rewards." Seeing Xiao Yan's slightly moved expression, Mo Xing knew that he had seen the right person and shouted again. Snake girls are also different. The snake girls treasured by our Sand Mercenary group can perform exotic dances, and their snake-like alluring waist is definitely the best among snake girls. Xue Lan blushed when she heard this. How could these men like that kind of snake girl with a tail? What is the difference between a snake girl who rapes women? Xiao Yan reached out and scratched Xue Lanxiong's nose, then reached out and took the blood-stained short knife. Lend me your weapon. Xue Lan responded as faintly as a mosquito, and nodded with a blushing dimple, obviously thinking that Xiao Yan liked her more. Huh? Mo Xing frowned and raised his brows angrily. You don't know how to praise me. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Yan rushed out like a cheetah, so fast that Mo Xing's eyes suddenly bulged. Looking at Xiao Yan who came to him almost instantly, Mo Xing retreated in panic. The short knife in Xiao Yan's hand rotated rapidly, heading towards Mo Xing's head, dodging left and right. Mo Xing's head almost spun like a top. In the crisis of life and death, Mo Xing finally opened the distance between him and Xiao Yan, and suddenly swung out the scimitar in his hand. For Xiao Yan, who has transcendent soul power, whether it is the fighter-level mercenaries of the Sand Mercenary group or the fighter-level mercenaries, the speed of their shots seems to be in slow motion in his eyes. Holding Mo Xing's arm holding the scimitar, Xiao Yan quickly drew the short knife in his hand. In an instant, the flesh and blood fell off, revealing the white bones, which were particularly dazzling under the scorching sun. The mercenaries looked at each other in shock. What a perverted guy! Mo Xing, who is a fighting master, was easily hit hard, Xiao Yan's dark eyes suddenly condensed, and he was close to Mo Xing again. The short knife in his hand followed closely and cut off his head with one strike. You fight with a short knife, you have an epiphany, you understand the small broken knife step. Small knife step: when approaching the enemy, use small steps to adjust your body shape to create a rapid spin effect, and draw the knife from an unexpected angle. Move, step to kill, broken dream. Chapter 71 Moves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 71 Move. All the mercenaries held their breath. Xiao Yan covered her cherry lips with her hands, and her plump breasts trembled even more. Mo Xing is a fighting master. What kind of strength does this young man have? How could he kill this Moxing so easily? No matter what, even Rob couldn't take down this Moxing in a short time. In a short period of time, the Sand Mercenary group lost a fighting master and more than a dozen other elite mercenaries. This strength. They looked at each other in stunned silence, and everyone could only sigh and shake their heads. This young man's strength is truly unfathomable. There will only be two of us again. Xiao Yan pointed his sword at Rob, who was fighting with his second brother. The cold feeling behind him forced Rob to distance himself from Xiao Li and stop for the time being, glancing at the headless corpse on the ground, especially when he saw the corpse of Mo Xing, the second member of his Sand Mercenary group. Rob was extremely shocked. Trash. Rob said angrily. He was dead after just a few breaths. Not only is he a waste, he is also an idiot. Xiao Yan is my third brother, and this Mo Xing actually wants to use people from my Modi mercenary group to seduce my third brother. Xiao Li laughed. Is he Xiao Yan? Xiao Yan blinked her slender eyelashes and licked her red lips, recalling the whole story. After a moment, her pretty face was gradually covered in astonishment. Originally, I just heard that the leader's younger brother had supernatural talents, but I didn't expect that after seeing him in person, he turned out to be much more terrifying than the legend said. Rob looked up at Xiao Yan, and frowned when he saw the medicinal cauldron badge on his chest that glowed silver under the sun. A second-grade alchemist. The two brothers Xiao Ding and Xiao Li are already very difficult to deal with. Unexpectedly, their third brother is not only terrifying in strength, but also a second-grade alchemist. What kind of family is this evildoer? Xiao Yan said calmly, give you a chance to survive. As long as you persist in one move in my hands, you can leave with your own people. Otherwise, the Sand Mercenary group will be merged into the Modi Mercenary group. One move. As soon as Xiao Yan finished speaking, the surrounding mercenaries suddenly became commotion. Rob is a strong man at the level of a great fighting master. He wears thick fighting spirit armor and is difficult to damage with ordinary weapons and fighting skills. If you want to seriously injure or kill him with one move, you probably need a warrior at the level of a fighting king, right? But now, this boy who looks like he is in his teens dares to speak out loud. Even though many people know that Xiao Yan's strength is definitely not low, they still can't help but shake their heads. This guy is so arrogant. Xiao Li was also shocked by Xiao Yan's words, and he held the spear tightly in his hand. Xiao Yanzi, has his strength grown to such a terrifying level during this period? In response to Xiao Yan's arrogant words, Rob laughed angrily. Okay, I will accept the battle and take your move. I want to see how you have the right to be so arrogant. Although the mercenaries from both sides have stopped fighting, the atmosphere in the desert has become even more tense. Xiao Li reminded in a deep voice, Xiao Yanzi, be careful. Rob is a 2-star level Earth attribute master who is best at defense. Xiao Yan nodded slightly and glanced at Luo Bu's khaki fighting spirit armor. After explaining the reminder, Xiao Ding and the mercenaries slowly dispersed, leaving a spacious space for the two of them. After Xiao Yan looked at the young man in black robe with a pair of bright eyes, she felt that it was difficult to move, and her young cheeks were full of confidence. Yellow level advanced fighting skill, Diamond Mountain Shield. Rob gave a deep shout, and the diamond-shaped dojing of the fighting cyclone in his body suddenly trembled, and a large amount of pure fighting energy suddenly poured out. He drew his hands in the void, and the surface of his body was once again covered with a golden shadow. Full defense. Xiao Yan smiled faintly. The soles of his feet suddenly stepped on the sand, and Xiao Yan rushed out instantly. the sporadic pace made it impossible for Deb to capture the specific figure of Xiao Yan. Even though he knew that he had an extremely strong defense, he still couldn't help but retreat slowly. With a quick kick, Xiao Yan instantly caught Luobu. Then, he fixed Luobu's neck with one hand and clamped his arms tightly like iron pliers, making it impossible for him to break free. The iron fist swung rapidly and struck Rob on the back. Each blow seemed to carry the power of thunder. Even with a double layer of defense, Rob still felt his internal organs vibrating, and a stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. However, Rob showed no pain at all, and was instead very proud. It is not easy to break through the strong defense of the Earth Attribute Fighting Master. Xiao Yan suddenly slapped Luobu in front of him with one palm, pushing him out instantly with tremendous force. Step to kill, broken dream. With a deep shout, Xiao Yan suddenly stepped on the ground with one foot, and the powerful force caused the dust to fly. His body was like electricity, and he suddenly jumped into the air. The short knife in his hand was filled with black and white flames, and he slashed diagonally. This sword is as heavy as a mountain and as fast as lightning. Under this sword, Rob's double-layered golden defense of the Vajra mountain shield and Dou Qi armor was as fragile as paper. The mercenaries looked at this scene in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. Rob's huge body flew backwards as if he was out of control. A ferocious scar appeared on his chest. He half knelt on the ground weakly and spat out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? Rob's eyes were full of fear and panic, and he looked up at the black and white flames. Are you also a great fighter? Covering weapons with fighting spirit is an ability that only great combat masters have. However, even if Xiao Yan is a great fighting master, it is impossible for him to break through his own defense. What is this black and white thing? Great fighter. Xiao Yan shook his head. I'm not. So is Xiao Yan, a fighting spirit or a fighting king? Rob was completely unsure of Xiao Yan's strength at this time. Such a young and powerful man. He has only seen Xiao Ding and Xiao Li at the fighting master level. Where has he seen such a genius as Xiao Yan? Rob said with some confusion, since you are so powerful, why did you punch me so many times before? Xiao Yan smiled and said, I just made sure that your defense would not be killed by a knife. If you die directly, the Modi mercenary group will lose a member of the Great Dou master level. Rob's face was full of bitterness and helplessness. In the Dou Qi Continent, the strong are respected. The thoughts of these strong men are really difficult to fathom. Xiao Yan slowly put away the flames on the dagger, glanced at the dagger that had melted in his hand, and couldn't help but think in his heart, the power of the fusion of Yin and Yang flames and Xianhuang flame is really terrifying. Looking at Xiao Yan's thin back, the mercenaries felt a little dizzy. In just a moment, the largest force in Stone Desert City was forcibly merged into the Desert Iron mercenary group. This dramatic scene really made everyone feel like they were dreaming.